Hello, this is Serrano of the 14th Legion, and today I will make a brief introduction for you of the features of the fleet window and the various functions that are available to you within it, some of which will be very important to you during any fleet action you may take part in. I'm today in a fleet with my associate Noraso, the two of us together only, but it should suffice for today's demonstration. I may not even need to undock for it, but I might yet. So initially, let's take a look right here. The fleet window is open here, and you can see immediately that a fleet is divided into several parts, the largest and overarching being fleet, and would have a fleet commander. I can drag myself up there. I would be the fleet commander. The fleet commander then can create wings beneath him, up to I think 5 wings. Right, 5 wings, maybe 4 or 5 wings. Anyway, each wing can then have a separate commander. Within each wing then can be 4 squads. Each squad can also have a commander, and then 10 pilots can be part of one squad. This is only particularly relevant when numbers get such that you need to divide into separate squads to ensure boosts are applied to everybody. It is not necessarily relevant in all cases, especially in the case of a small gang. Boosts are being applied based on the leadership skills of the squad, wing and fleet commanders, should they be present. Boosts are given based on skills, but more importantly command links from battlecruisers or command ships. And if you'll take a look on the right hand side here, where along my name is here, there are several indicators. The one in the center there indicates that I am the squad booster for this squad, meaning that any command links on my ship would be taken into account when boosts are calculated for the members of my squad, only being squad leader. This is not necessarily the squad leader. It does not have to be the squad leader. I can quite easily, I can right click on myself now and revoke booster, and then that will disappear, and I can then apply the booster, set fleet wing or squad booster to Noraso here, and then it will be her ship's modules that will be calculated for the squad's boosts. A large fleet will have multiple boosters across several wings and squads, and everything of that nature will be considered when boosters are applied. For our purposes, though, it's a bit beyond the scope of this video, but nevertheless it is a feature of the fleet system that boosters are and can be applied to squads and wings and etc. Take a look over here again, and you will see that there is a little yellow triangle here. Obviously you can see it indicates the squad commander is myself, as if it wasn't obvious enough right here. More important is this star that indicates the fleet boss. The fleet boss is not necessarily your fleet commander, but it is the person who has the ultimate control over the fleet, invites, moving people around and such like that. Often in a large and busy fleet, the fleet boss will be a second in command, or someone trusted to take care of the administration, I suppose, of the fleet, while the fleet commander does the fleet commanding. Well, there you are. Anyway, for this purposes, I have started the fleet, and I am the boss over Noraso, who is in my squad. And there we are. Now, at this time, I'll direct you to these tabs up here. We have 3, and we'll go from my fleet being this display here to the right-hand side one, Fleet Finder, and open it up. Now, this is quite important. Being in a fleet or not in a fleet, you will have access to this from the fleet window. And in Fleet Finder, you can see there are several fleets listed here. These are advertised fleets that I can join. Obviously, being part of a fleet with Noraso here, I can't until I leave this one, but these available fleets are open to me to join. It is often worth your while if you're looking for something to do, you want a little fleet action, take a look in your Fleet Finder, see if anything is available. Otherwise, you can start your own fleet, but there you are. If you do start your own fleet, then from find fleets you can search for them, but on the right hand side is another bar, My Advert. Clicking on here, you have the opportunity to create your own fleet advert to advertise your fleet. It's a bit beyond the scope of what we're doing here, but nevertheless a feature that is available. You can advertise your fleet from here. Now, on to the more important area, which is the remaining tab, History. There's several things listed there already, but history, what it means is broadcast history. Various events, broadcasts, and other, events is the word to use, that take place within the fleet are listed here and recorded here as per the fleet boss's settings. I'll right click up here. There are a few settings up here, but of course it's not necessary to go through all of this right now. What we need to look at here is why this broadcast window is useful to you and what you might need it for. And quite simply put, during a large fleet, a lot of things are going to be going on. Principally, targets are going to be called. Targets are called by broadcast, and it is in this window right here that your target broadcast will be displayed. If you are in the position of logistics and you are giving reps, people will call for reps, people will call for armor and shield or capacitor. Those broadcasts will appear here in this list, and it occurs to me now that I most certainly should undock and demonstrate some of these things, so I'm going to do so now. Bear with me a moment. Alright, here we are. Here we are in deep space. Noraso Torona is here to assist me with the demonstration of broadcasts, and we will begin with a demonstration of armor, broadcast and shield and that kind of thing. If you are a logistics ship giving reps to members of your gang, you will see broadcasts of this nature. Let's assume for a moment that our friend is taking damage, she needs help. We'll broadcast and it will look like this. Immediately you can see at this time Noraso Torona needs armor. A pop-up has appeared. I know immediately who needs help. Now, what is particularly useful about this is I can use this broadcast itself. I can right click on it, or alternatively I can control click. If I was to control click on her, it will in fact lock up the broadcasted individual for me. I can then apply my reps to her immediately. There will be no delay in trying to find her in a list anywhere. It is extremely efficient and effective at applying reps. I'm going to go ahead and unlock her. It need not necessarily be armor. She might broadcast for shield. There's a shield broadcast, exactly the same. I can lock her using the broadcast. She might also broadcast for capacitor. Somewhat less frequent, but sometimes capacitor is available, especially if you have basilisks or guardians. Nevertheless, the broadcast can be made in this way. Now, the next thing to demonstrate, I suppose, is targeting. Often a fleet commander will broadcast their targets rather than simply call them out, especially in a larger engagement. I'm going to use the Noraso over there. If I right click, being the fleet commander, I can right click on her. I can broadcast the target from this point of view right here. I can also do it with a hotkey. Oh, that's not the right hotkey. What's the hotkey for broadcast again? B? Broadcast target B, kind of? No, I don't know. Well, what a perfect opportunity. Let's hit escape and go take a look at our hotkeys. If we go into navigation, I think? Yes. There's a list here of broadcast hotkeys. There's a variety of broadcasts available. Most of these are not used. Warp 2 is one that would be used. Broadcast, obviously, armor, capacitor, shield is used very frequently. And there we are, broadcast target. Apparently I set it to F, good for me. I'll jump back out of here then. I'll hit F and I'll broadcast. I'm just going to go ahead and click on Noraso over there, boom. Now, you can see that a broadcast for targeting her has appeared in my list. Let's assume for a second she is hostile, and the fleet commander will broadcast a target exactly this way, and from the broadcast list here I can then go ahead and target the necessary ship and apply my damage, which obviously will not do in this case. Very well. Alright, now, aside from the broadcast for reps and other assistants that are the duty of your logistics ships, and target broadcasts, which is the duty of an assigned target caller or your FC. Additionally, you might find a destination being broadcast. I can do that now as in this way. A right click on a gate. I have various broadcast options here. There are additionally hotkeys for that. I'll go ahead and I'll broadcast on a line, for example, and I get an Align broadcast in my window here, and I can then of course right click on it and I get the very same options as I would right clicking on the gate itself in the overview. I can go ahead and align, or I can accidentally warp, which would be a bad thing because it's an align command. Additionally, I can broadcast a jump to, or I can broadcast a warp to. These kinds of broadcasts are common, not entirely necessary a lot of the time, especially in a smaller gang, but nevertheless these kinds of broadcasts are available, and you can use the broadcast window to warp to, jump to, etc. in the same way we used it to target in these cases. Now that we have several things available in our broadcast list, we should take a look at the filters. The first filtering options are available here in this drop down list. You have more general options such as member history, voice history, broadcast history, and such. Broadcasts, basically it takes into account all of these things. Members are people joining and leaving the group. Loot history, if your FC has such activated, you will see when people loot things from wrecks and all that. Not necessarily relevant to every group. For this demonstration, we'll just leave it on broadcast history. And the next most important thing is to set correctly your broadcast filters based on your role in the group. At the top left of the fleet window, we'll right click up here, and there is a broadcast settings, as well as having options to broadcast all of the things you need here. There is a broadcast settings. Jump in there. Now here you have a fairly self-explanatory checkbox system of the various broadcasts that you want to have displayed in your window here. As you can see, there are the ones we have already seen: armor, capacitor, also shield we have seen before. We have also seen broadcast for warp to and align to and target, and they're all checked. At this time I'll uncheck, let's say I'll uncheck armor, and immediately the armor broadcast has disappeared. Recheck it, and it's appeared again. I'll uncheck the target broadcast. Target broadcast has disappeared. I'll recheck it, and the capsule has reappeared. Instant change. Quite useful. What should, I assume, be apparent at this point is if you are, for example, in the logistic role, you will want most assuredly to have armor, capacitor, shield, well, capacitor maybe, broadcasts checked, and you will have broadcast target unchecked. As a fleet commander is broadcasting targets to the gang, you have no need of this information, unless you're in a particularly small gang and you want to whore on the kills. You don't need this information, and target broadcasts will simply get in the way of you seeing your fleet mates asking for help, and that is your job, so you will want to pay attention to those broadcasts rather than target. Likewise, when you are not a logistics ship, it is in your best interest to disable all of the logistics related broadcasts, and therefore you will not be inundated with all of the armor requests of people who are getting shot at. You can focus then on the target broadcasts of your FC. It is likely in everyone's benefit to leave warp to align to broadcasts checked, although depending on the FC they may not get used at all. Nevertheless, they don't really get in the way, and at a crucial moment FC might broadcast a warp out, and you can access then that from the menu here. If, for example, you have an overview that has things disabled and you can't get a quick warp out, that is something that could save a ship. And there you are. A simple look at the features here. I better make sure I check them all properly. Good. Alright, next and the final element of today's demonstration is the watch list. Watch list is something that I have been failing to pay attention to recently, but it's something very important. I'll go ahead and open it up and you can see what it is right away. So here I can right click on my squad mate Noraso, and you will immediately see, because I'm accessing her from the fleet menu, I have immediately fleet options, including add to watch list. I don't need to access this from the fleet window itself. I can simply right click her on in local here. I would then have to go through the fleet menu, and I have add to watch list here. But just so you know, these options are available simply by right clicking on a name in chat and expanding out through the fleet menu. nevertheless, we'll go back to the fleet window itself and take a look. So Noraso here, add to watch list. I will do that now. A watch list appears. Now what you can see here is a representation of Noraso Torona's ship health. Each bar represents a shield, armor and hull, and as she takes damage, no, I'm not going to demonstrate, she's in a pod. As she takes damage, I suppose I could. You get out into space. This is a bad idea, but nevertheless, go ahead. So, as she takes damage, oh, I really hope I don't accidentally kill her. Go on, boss. As she takes damage, come back. Ooh. Good. Ceased fire. As she takes damage, you can see it is updated in the watch list. Okay. Did I just take a security status hit? I did. Never mind. Anyway. It's fine. I'll not worry about it. This is crucial information for a logistics pilot. Often someone is not going to be as fast on the broadcast as you would like them to be, and it often seems that you are far more concerned with the safety of other fleet members' ships than they themselves are. Watching the list here, you can immediately see when guys are taking damage, even if they haven't broadcasted. And as I will demonstrate now, I'll unlock here. I'll unlock her. You can also control click and lock this person using the watch list. You can also approach, orbit, or any other command that you would like through the watch list. Something that is crucial and something that is always universal in every fleet is that you should have a watch list open, and in that watch list should be your fleet commander. If you're a logistics ship, you will have likely the other logistics ships of your fleet in the list. You would have other priority targets such as a fleet booster, perhaps tacklers or such. Recently the watch list was expanded. It can now contain 15, I think, ship pilots or squad fleet mates or whatever in a long list, so it can be quite an extended list. Nevertheless, it's crucial. One thing that is also very useful is it can give you up-to-date information on when your fleet members are on grid with you. For example, taking a look at the overview here, I can't see my fleet mate just because of the way I have my overview set up. I would have to go into the fleet to see her there. However, the watch list demonstrates that she is on grid with me by displaying this information, and I will demonstrate to you now what happens when she warps away. She's about to do now fairly well. Off she goes. The information is no longer displayed. Thus, simply having the watch list open is a quick way to determine if your fleet members are on grid with you or not, without changing your overview settings. Now, before we finish, and are also having safely docked our pod in station here, I'll take a look at a few final features of the broadcast window here. If you take a look at the lower right hand side, you'll see a little arrow symbol which will give you an extended menu. And here you can see the most recent broadcast, and at the bottom a selection of buttons. These buttons are essentially shortcuts to the various broadcasts, such as armor, which I can click on, it will automatically broadcast. Shield, it will automatically broadcast, for example. While these buttons are certainly useful, a far more useful and efficient system is to set hotkeys for your broadcasts, particularly the most important ones, and you can do that here in the navigation menu. Let's see, I have mine set up here. While I do have armor on A and shield on S, it is not because of A being for armor. It is simply where my hand rests on the keyboard, but it's up to you to assign keys to these features as you see fit, or failing that, use the buttons here. But remember, it is your ship on the line, and the time it takes you to find the armor broadcast in here is time that your logistics buddy could be repping you already because you hit armor. But of course, if they're watching you in the watch list, they probably already know that you're taking damage and will have locked you. Just good having good logi buddies around. Remember, they keep everybody alive and win the fights. The final thing I want to look at is again in the bottom right hand corner. You'll see there's now a sort of a four arrows in a little cross shape here. I'll highlight it. It says current scope everyone, select who will receive this broadcast. Now with this you can make a change to your broadcasts, and the change is to the recipient. Who will receive your broadcast? I'll take a click there and take a look. Next one is my group. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure what my group means. Our next one goes to superiors. Current scope is superiors. Now if I go back, being the boss I don't think is relevant. Superiors will be wing and fleet commanders will receive a broadcast that comes from me. That would be relevant more so to a scout. I can't really imagine why that would be useful. I don't think it is, but nevertheless it's a thing that is there. If I click on it again, the next one is, of course, the current scope is everyone, which means everyone gets a broadcast. That is the default way to leave it, unless there's some kind of not random, but special circumstance. I can't really see you needing to change this, but it's a good thing to notice if it has changed somehow by accident, and you're going to be broadcasting to my group and there are no groups set, and you're hitting armor. You could spam armor all you want. Take a look at how spamming armor works. If I just start spamming armor, it doesn't spam immediately. Nevertheless, it looks like this. And if I have this set incorrectly, no one is going to see it. No one is going to give you reps. So be sure that this is set to everyone. Okay, so then in closing, let's take a look at a few elements of squad management, not necessarily beyond the scope of this demonstration, so let's go ahead and take a look. So here, as you can see, it's the default fleet setup. When you create a fleet, there will be one fleet, one wing and one squad, and you will be that squad leader. To create a new squad, it's a very simple process. You go to the wing, right click on wing, and there you have a create squad option, and it will create a new squad within that wing. The point being that this squad will receive boosts from the wing booster of wing 1. Go ahead and create another one, and there's a squad 3. If your fleet then becomes so large that you need a second wing, you go ahead and right click on fleet, create a new wing, and there you have wing 2 with one squad. And then I can go ahead and right click on wing 2 to create a new squad in there. And obviously what's relevant here is that members of the fleet in these squads will receive boosts from the wing booster of wing 2 rather than the wing booster of wing 1, while receiving boosts from their own squad members and all that. I try not to get worried too much about boosting stuff. It's a bit confusing, but nevertheless our demonstration today will extend as far as these basic elements of fleet management. So there we are. We've taken a look at basic elements of managing a fleet using a watch list. You add members of fleets to watch list this way. A particular element I think I missed is that you can right click on a squad leader. You can then add all members of a particular squad to your watch list. That's a quite useful feature that you should note. Furthermore, we've taken a look at the fleet finder, how to look for advertised fleets that we can join. Go ahead and right click there, you can join that fleet. How to create your own advert through this element, that we haven't gone into it in detail. We've taken a look in detail at the history tab and various broadcasts, discussed hotkeys for broadcasting, when and where these things are useful, and finally, and perhaps crucially, taking a look at the broadcast settings and how to go ahead and check and uncheck particular broadcasts based on your role in the fleet. These things are pretty crucial, and a lot of the time in a fleet engagement or a gang there is no opportunity for someone to explain these things to you, and if you're not in a position to broadcast for armor or shield at a crucial moment that your ship is done, it's very unlikely that a logistics guy is going to catch that you're taking damage without you having broadcasted for it. One thing I will add before I finish on a personal note, having flown logistics a lot and really enjoyed it, but been frustrated, not necessarily at people's failure to broadcast, but for a logistics pilot it's disappointing when someone goes down. I mean, when you're in the gang and your goal is to keep people up, all you need them to do is broadcast, and you can do your job. That's all you need them to do, and you can only keep so many people on your watch list. What I will say to you is, if you're in a gang, do not be shy about broadcasting for help. If you see you're being targeted, if you get pointed by somebody, if you start taking a little damage, broadcast. Just do it. Go ahead and broadcast, get the attention of your Logie brothers, and they will lock you up and they will rep you if you need it. If it turns out that you don't need rep, then they will probably leave you locked, or they will unlock you, and you can then broadcast again later if need be. Do not be shy about broadcasting. Everybody wants your ship to stay in one piece. You want it, your logistics brothers want it as well, so go ahead and broadcast. It's why the feature is there, and it's what we're waiting for. This window will be open at all times in a fleet if you are operating using broadcasts. There you are. So it's a fairly simplistic explanation, but a lot of information. If you have any further questions, don't be shy there either. Contact me in game about it. But for now, I have been Serrano of 14th Legion. Good luck in your fleet engagements, and all the best.